On today's episode, Summer League just finished up. We've got some notes from a presser that happened earlier today. I'm going to tell you why Cam Johnson is the perfect fit for the Denver Nuggets based off of his own words. This is Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for listening to each and every episode. Thank you for sticking around for a late night episode. It's Friday night here, recording immediately after the Denver Nuggets finish up Summer League. We'll get into that in the third segment. There's a couple of things that happened earlier today that I would like to address up front. We'll get into all of those. It's just me on this particular episode. Swipe has got the day off. It is his birthday today, so everybody go make sure to wish him a happy birthday, both on social media and also in the YouTube comments down below. Would be awesome if you could. And Matt Moore, of course, will be back later next week when he gets back from vacation. So they stuck me with the late night Friday episode. So congratulations, guys. Thank you so much. No, this is something I love to do and wanted to be able to do. And we get to talk a little basketball, talk a little Nuggets before things kind of wind down. It's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the offseason continues to go, because we may not have a ton beyond this moment. So take it while you can. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Ryan Blackburn. I am the host here at Locked On Nuggets, co-host with each of those two guys, as well as they host over at Mile High Sports on the Pickaxe and Roll podcast. Make sure to go check out that one as well. Really interesting day today, really interesting stuff, and was glad to be in attendance for a presser that happened earlier today. I don't have enough time within the context of this show to give you all of the information. I wrote a little bit about it at milehighsports.com, so make sure to go check that out. It's on the website right now about Cam Johnson, but his intro presser, as well as some other things that were stated earlier today. But I'm going to give you the cliff notes. I'm going to give you some important quotes, some important things that I think are very, they're a big deal. They're at least a big deal to me. The most important thing was about Cam Johnson. We'll talk about him in the first segment. We've got some other tidbits from that presser in the second segment, and then third segment we'll do Summer League takeaways. So without further ado, Cam Johnson, really well-spoken guy, really important perspective on basketball I think that he is bringing to this Nuggets team. It came through in all of the answers that he had earlier today. He talked about facing Denver and said, quote, "It's a tough style to play against, and the fact that they can attack from so many different angles. Now, me being a part of that, I'm really excited. That's the kind of basketball I want to play, where kind of everybody's in tune with each other and able to play off of each other and, just be able to generate the best possible looks." That's a great sign. Whenever you can talk about somebody that just is very much focused on generate the best basket, that guy's going to work out. It just is going to happen. He is about the right perspective when it comes to for a Nuggets team. It may not be for every team, but certainly for a Nuggets team that is built around player movement, ball movement, and playing off of Jokic's skill set. John Wallace today talked about identifying Cam as a trade target. Quote, "He was a guy that was on our radar. We were looking for a seamless fit. Given his versatility, both offensively and defensively, it made a lot of sense. Through hours and hours of talks and negotiations, kind of getting that reassurance amongst ourselves, he's made sense. It's the right decision." So it was, I was talking to Ben Tenzer and joking with him after, because he gave me a quote on draft night that was basically like, I don't know if we're gonna really focus on the trade market. We'll probably more focus on free agency, not really gonna be focused on trades. Obviously he can't say that they're focused on trades, but clearly at that point they had been talking behind the scenes with the Nets, and just hilarious that was kind of the perspective that he shared So I gave him a little bit of crap for that, and he laughed. It's a good moment. Ben is a good guy. He is somebody that I'm going to enjoy talking to, and I have some thoughts. Grace is in the comments. I've got some things that I'm going to talk about in the second segment as well that are very important to you specifically. Cam Johnson on playing for a winning team, quote, I want to win. I want to win a championship. And obviously we have the pieces to do it here. That's what I'm most excited about. Great. Pretty baseline answer, obviously, but he is all about, like, there's always going to be that question of, is the guy that you're bringing in about the right things? He just wants to win. The Nuggets just want to win. They don't really care how it's done. It's mostly just about getting the job done. Cam Johnson is a basketball nerd. That comes clearly through in all of the answers, and I mean that in the best way possible, because you have to be a basketball nerd in a lot of ways to love the game the way that he does. He said, quote, and this is kind of talking about his Phoenix experience and growing up and learning the game. Just watching, observing, seeing how the game developed, seeing kind of the reads, the mindset, the work, everything that goes on behind the scenes. And so I've always just tried to cultivate that. I've tried to cultivate that since I was little. I used to sit down with a little notebook in my bedroom and draw up sets. I mean, it's just, I always loved the game. I always loved the mental side of the game. I've always prided myself on that. I connected with him on that because I did the same thing for football. People don't know this. I was a football guy for sure. And it's clearly, I'm surprised even that I'm kind of doing the basketball thing, because I was doing that for the football side of things. As a young kid, drawing up plays in my, like, in a little composite notebook with that marble background, that marble cover. So Cam is clearly cut from that same cloth, and I sympathize with that completely. I think he's going to fit in well with this Nuggets team, and the Nuggets clearly they have a lot of basketball nerds on their team. Jokic is going to love Cam Johnson and the way that he is very willing, very able to go back, and he's going to be willing to go back and forth with him on the X's and O's of different things, how to create certain things. David Adelman's going to love to deal with that. It's going to be great. So I'm very curious to see how they handle it for sure. Him is in the comments, asks, you think a JV press conference will happen? Probably not. Do not think that is going to happen, but I do have some details from the JV presser, or the JV question at the presser that happens. So will be interesting to see. Gosh, the Discord is just going off right now. I got to mute this thing. Holy crap. These guys are just killing me. Okay, actually, I don't even know how to do that. So, other notes, other quotes. Here's a long one from Cam. I asked him a question about playing next to Nikola Jokic, because he's been asked everything. He's like, what's it like to play next to Nikola? What's it like to be playing next to the MVP? What do you think about Jokic? Things like that. Everybody's going to get asked about that. I sympathize with these guys when you're an NBA player, and especially when you're talking about the Nuggets. You have to ask it in different ways. And so I asked him, what is his best skill playing next to Jokic? And he said, quote, and it's a long one, I'd say relocation around the perimeter, whether that's finding the open spot for a three or a cut. I know maybe his best ability is just understanding where he is in space and where his teammates are in space at all times. And so one thing that I've always worked on in my career to take the next steps to be able to be on the court, to be able to play, get playing time, is finding windows offensively. And so, in playing with the player like Yoke, I find a spot and there's a high chance that he's going to put the ball on me, the pass on time, on target. So for me, it's going to be a lot of just where I'm just, playing off of the guys on the court and then making reads off of that. And that's how I love to play. That's my favorite kind of basketball. No notes. Perfect. Just perfect. It's going to be a great fit. And I continue to believe wholeheartedly that this Nuggets team has struck gold with the Cam Johnson trade. I talked about this on Pickaxe. The fact that they are able to do this deal and they only had to give up a first round pick while saving the money that they did, while creating the space that they did to go out and get a backup center. Like, they could not have done any better with the way that they handled this thing. And so I think Cam is going to be basically the absolute perfect option for them. And it just makes a lot of sense. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to continue to do the things that are very important. But it's one of the reasons why I'm so high on this team at this point. I had concerns heading into the offseason. I thought it was going to be very quiet. They basically said that it was going to be very quiet. And then they made a perfect trade to create some opportunities for themselves to just be the best version of their team that they possibly can with the resources that they have. So we'll see whether they stick the landing or not. Like, they still have to go out and play and be good. But I do think that they have a very good start here. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some other details from this trade, not trade, but from this presser, including some stuff from John Wallace and Ben Tenzer about Jonas Valanciunas and the first apron. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. All right, let's talk about Gametime. We've all been there, logging in early, waiting forever to get concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you could save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute details. I recently went to a show over at Ball Arena, actually, and it's just really nice to be able to go into the app and to actually see the panoramic seat view that they have. Obviously, I've been to Ball Arena a lot, but if you've ever been to an arena or not been to an arena before, now you don't have to worry about that if you just use Gametime. There will be no surprises on the viewing that you are going to get. With Gametime, the price you see is the price you pay, no hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. All right, we are back. Locked On Nuggets, thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. Okay, got some more quotes from Ben Tenzer, John Wallace. Obviously, Cam Johnson was the big story for everything that happened in that presser. But there were some other important tidbits. It was the first time that we were able to ask them questions since the start of free agency. And obviously a lot has changed. A lot has happened. So very important for Denver to, and for like Nuggets media, to get the good questions out of these guys. John Wallace talked about the strategy in free agency. He said, quote, "I think one of the biggest things we looked for with all the moves is being able to adapt to what the league may throw at us on any given night without sacrificing our baseline and our fundamental approach to the game." That comes through in all of this. They have more versatility than they ever have before, really. Even that 2023 team, it was still very, very, very focused on 6 guys. And it was the starters plus Bruce Brown. Christian ultimately developed into the player that they needed late, but it took some time. He wasn't ready initially, but they had to kind of play him through it because he was the right guy and they knew he was the right guy. But Jeff Green, they were in and out of the lineup with him as he was injured. Flacco Chanchar, Zeke Naji, guys like that. DeAndre Jordan was really struggling. Now they don't really have to worry about like whether they're going to be able to piece together a bench. They will. It's just about who is going to be the right piece for the right time. And it's going to allow them to rest some guys. I really do think that this is a deeper team than they've ever had, at least in the Jokic era. So actually, you know what? That may not be true. like 2019, 2020, those teams were probably deeper, if I'm being honest, but the top end talent was not as good. Like the Nuggets were not the Nuggets. Jokic was not Jokic. Murray was a different version of himself, less consistent. Cam Johnson's Cam Johnson. Aaron Gordon's Aaron Gordon. So not a surprise that they've gotten better on that front. On the Jonas Valanciunas front, Bennett Durando asked, quote, "Are there any remaining or lingering concerns that Jonas Valanciunas will not be on the team for opening day?" Ben Tenzer responded, "No concerns." That is the going line for Denver from this particular presser. Kind of interesting to see. Interesting to see the way that that is being framed. No concerns on the Nuggets front. I think that they are right to feel that way for a variety of reasons because it is a guaranteed contract. They've clearly talked to Jonas and his agency. I think they feel pretty strongly about it. Greece is not going to feel pretty great about that. Panathinaikos is not going to feel great about that. But ultimately, like, it was always kind of a red flag when you're having somebody get out of a $10 million guaranteed contract. So I understand why it's such a big deal because getting a player at that level is very difficult. But Denver is clearly counting on Jonas. He has been framed, whether it's by David Adelman in some of the interviews that Katie Wingy's done with him, whether it's by the by the front office folks. Everybody is very much framing this with Jonas is going to be an every night player. He's going to play an important role behind Nikola Jokic. Denver's very excited to have a guy of his caliber. They've never had that before, at least to this degree, while Jokic has been at this level. So going to be very interesting to see. God, I love this. Supernova in the comments says, "Now that I am subscribed to the Locked On Nuggets, my wife loves me and my kids want to be around me. Thanks, Locked On Nuggets, and thanks, Ryan." You are welcome, Supernova. If I didn't stutter through the beginning of that, then it would mean a lot more, I know. So very, very important to not stutter when you are getting complimented. So thank you. I talked to Ben Tenzer on the 15th roster spot. This is important. I asked him if there's any pressure to fill that roster spot. And here's the direct response that I got. Quote, "I wouldn't say there's pressure. We're going to be patient. Right now, we feel really good about where the roster's at. And if we feel like it's important to add a 15th, we will. But no pressure right now." So kind of the way that I've reported this, the way that I've talked about this, from a structural standpoint, the Nuggets do not have to rush this thing. It'll be interesting to see whether they actually add anybody. Somebody in the comments tonight was like Malcolm Brogdon. Yeah, it would be great. Russell Westbrook, not sure if he is in the cards for Denver. The way that the Nuggets are talking about this thing, I do not think he's in the cards. That's something that I've discussed before. But it does feel like Denver may go into training camp without adding a 15th man. That is at least on the table. So keep that in mind. Their roster's good enough. There will be options. They want to keep the buyout market open. And one of the reasons for that, I talked to Ben Tenzer after the presser. I won't share all of the details that I went into, but one of the important notes that I wanted to get some clarification on was Denver being a first apron team and above the cap team. Kind of where are they classified from a cap standpoint? And Ben told me, no, they are not a first apron team. They are not hard capped under the first apron. They can go over if they want to. They have the flexibility because adding Jonas with the traded player exception this year, that's not something that hard caps you. It's not something that you are concerned about. Denver, they have the ability, if they want to go over the first apron. There is I think a desire because of the cap rules to not do that. But Ben also was kind of talking about the Nuggets. They had to check with the league on several occasions because of how complicated this situation was. They checked with the league 3-4 times or so just to make sure, hey, just so we're clear, this is all good. We're not triggering anything that we don't want to trigger. This is not a problem. And they said no. So Ben Tenzer is doing a great job here. The Nuggets have really manipulated this thing to the way that they need to. And Grace says it here. I did this for you, Grace. We finally have a GM who understands the CBA, I fear. They do understand it. They get it. But Hurricane says, the cap expert, man, I'm not kidding you. Everybody in the league, and I mean everybody, still trying to figure out what the hell's going on. There are so many complicated rules with the aprons, with the triggering of different things on different dates, with different like manners and ways. Like they've made this more complicated on purpose to try to give some of these teams that are in between the aprons a little bit of flexibility. So it's kind of tough because, like, for example, one of the things that Denver could have done if they did not get Valanciunas is they could have traded for somebody else using the mid-level exception of all things. Like it would have hard capped them, like the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. It would have hard capped them at the first apron. That would have done it. But they found something different. They found a different way to make it happen. So the entire league, not just the Nuggets, the entire league is still trying to figure this thing out. Some teams are doing it well. Other teams are not. I do think that Denver is in pretty good hands here, though. They have shown, I think, that they are more than willing, more than able to get this done. And it's nice to see that they have executed this in a manner that I definitely respect. I think that this makes a lot of sense. Finally, John Wallace quote on if the Nuggets are championship contenders kind of tapered off those expectations a little bit. But that's what a good kind of executive does in this situation. He says, quote, obviously the season has to play itself out, but do we feel confident? Yes. But like I said, there's a lot of basketball to be played. These guys have to gel. This is a very important point for people to realize and recognize. Not every team that is built to be a championship contender ends up winning. And there are a variety of reasons for that. Like, I thought that Dario Saric was going to be a pretty good fit for Denver last year. Turns out he just couldn't play. Like, maybe there's a possibility that Jonas is like that. Or maybe, like, Bruce just can't hit a three. Or Tim Hardaway just can't guard. Or whatever. Denver's in a situation where they have enough, I think, to kind of make up for some of those deficiencies if something like that were to happen with one or multiple guys. But I do think that they are now in a position like where anything can happen. You don't know. You can't just predict it all offhand entirely. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. But I do think this team feels pretty confident. That was a tepid response from John Wallace, but I do think that he feels and the Nuggets feel very good about the way that things have gone. I can say that pretty strongly. They feel good about where they're at. Okay. Let's take one more break. When we come back, we are going to discuss Summer League. The game just ended right before I went live here. Some really good stuff from the Nuggets in their final game. We'll talk about some of those takeaways and some takeaways overall here at Locked On Nuggets. All right, let's talk about OpenPhone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or a service provider. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You probably moved on. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or your computer. OpenPhone lets you manage business calls and texts from a single app. If you've ever been in a situation, now we're in a different spot in the podcasting business, especially kind of the host business. But I can tell you, I've been having some problems with Teams, just like opening that up. I got to imagine that OpenPhone would really help me in some of these situations. They will absolutely help you. The shared inbox feature they have is a game changer. Your team can just jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat. OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off of their first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's let me start again. openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will just port them over for no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. All right, back at it. Final segment, Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. You guys like how I tried to spell phone with an F? That was pretty cool. I'm tired. It's late. We're all fallible here. Summer League takeaways. I wrote some things down for each of the players that I thought were prevalent. I've got like 9 notes, 10 notes here. Stick with me on this one. Deron Holmes. I thought he looked progressively good. Like first game, really good start, shot the ball well, did some good things off the dribble. Wasn't really challenged that much. Then he was challenged in the second game. And then he looked a little bit better in the third game. And then he looked really good in the fourth game. Looked more and more comfortable as time progressed. Doesn't really surprise me that it came with as a center, where the ball's in his hands a little bit more. You're involved in the primary action a little bit more. Sometimes in the modern NBA, like think about in 2000, for example, a 1-4 pick and roll is not surprising. It's just not. Like you have the 5 on the baseline, you have the 4 that can do a pick and pop, or you're just going to roll and you're going to roll into space and it's a little bit different. Now, if you're doing 1-4, that 5 better be spaced to the corner or spaced to top of the key, or else you're not going to have any space to operate what you're doing. So really interesting to think about like, whether he's going to be better as a power forward or a center. I'm just not surprised that Deron a little bit more comfortable at center. It's the position that he played in college. So it'll be interesting to see whether he makes that transition to power forward full time. But I kind of think he can be an emergency third center for Denver and be okay. He did look a little bit shaky from a physical perspective initially, but that's going to be a confidence thing. That's going to be something that he continues to build back up. I'm excited to see where he goes from here with it. Hunter Tyson, underwhelming in 2 games. That was unfortunate. Didn't want that to be the case. Third season in the NBA, you would hope that he shows enough. And maybe he did from like a point, like a playmaking standpoint, just ball in his hands. It was a really tough situation for him to be in with where the team was at. He is not an off the dribble guy. Like that's just, it's not his game to me. You want him to be a guy that comes off of screens, that spots up in the corner, that hustles, that does the connective things, that like rebounds and shows that he's out there with his hustle. That's not the way that he was going to make an impact at the summer league. And so I think Denver kind of recognized that and said, yeah, 2 games, it's fine. We'll see what happens at the beginning of training camp. And whether he's going to be a factor, I would not be surprised if he's not much of a factor, but like to me, he's their 14th man on the 14 roster spots that they have. And if you're counting Spencer Jones, Tamar Bates, I think I kind of like Spencer Jones a little bit more right now. But we'll see. Hunter can, like, his big barrier for the NBA last year, so he just wasn't making enough shots. He was too rushed. Every time he was going so hard on the defensive end, got into his head a little bit. He's just got to slow down, get more comfortable, hit the shots that he's supposed to hit. It'll be a little bit better if he can do that, but this summer league in particular, he shot like 32%, 27% from 3. It's not good enough. It's just not. Tamar Bates, he looked pretty good with the ball in his hands throughout the summer league. I was kind of surprised about, actually, no, I'm not really surprised about that. That was a lot of his game at college, again, doing the things that he's supposed to do. I don't think he's going to be the ball in the hand guy for the NBA team. That to me seems like a stretch, but like, hey, maybe it's a skill set that, because like you think about the guards that Denver has. You've got Jamal Murray, you've got Christian Brown, and you've got Bruce Brown, you've got Jalen Pickett. Tamar Bates, maybe it could be more of a scoring type than those guys. Some of the stuff that he was doing today was looking pretty good. I think he needs to be more of a 3-and-D type. Got better defensively as Summer League went along. I wasn't impressed with him initially, but then he got better. The third game in particular was really, really good. Then he took a big hit in the head in this game tonight. Didn't re-enter after that. So he was more impressive. To me, more impressive as Summer League went along. started making some outside shots, looked pretty comfortable shooting both off the dribble and off the catch. So that's nice to see. You want to see him continue to do that. Spencer Jones, great work defensively in Summer League so far, or throughout this time. He didn't play tonight, but he did shoot a great percentage from three for Summer League. I think it was at 45% the last time I saw it. That might have changed, but looked fantastic from an athletic standpoint. I thought he was doing a great job of sitting down and guarding. He still needs to move those hips better defensively. He was like fouling pretty crazily. A lot of those were just from bumping into guys, trying to be physical, trying to be in their space, but not necessarily moving as well as he needed to. But I really think that there's something here. I think he can play pretty well defensively. So been pretty impressed with the way that he handled himself, the way he's kind of turned his from first to second year around. He looks like a better player than he was at the end of last season. So credit to him for making the work count. Curtis Jones, big performance over the course of these last few games. Had multiple 20-point performances, had 22 points and 8 assists tonight. He might have the inside track for that third two-way spot. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know which direction John Wallace and Ben Tenzer are going to go. They may feel like they want another big man. That wouldn't surprise me. They may feel like they want another forward. Or they might like the scoring. They might like the scoring guard that Curtis Jones has shown that he can be. Shooting with confidence. And like, sometimes you just need somebody to go get you a bucket. And he has that. Like, he's a better scorer, I think, than Tamar Bates. Better, like, I saw some really impressive passes from him out of pick and roll as well. So it'll be interesting to see if that's something that he can turn into. But I liked what I saw. So I think he's on an Exhibit 10 contract, if I'm not mistaken. So he will be with the Nuggets with their G League team, their Grand Rapids Gold. So maybe like he does elevate and get a third two-way contract based off of how he plays, but I think he's going to get a training camp invite if he has an Exhibit 10 contract. So nice to see him score. Nice to see him look pretty good from that front. And I think even like a lot of Nuggets fans are his fan now. So that's at least winning half the battle, if you will. Reese Beekman to me looked okay. Good defensively, similar profile to Jalen Pickett. Not necessarily sure that's the direction that Denver should want to go. They've already got Jalen Pickett on their roster. I kind of like the Curtis Jones profile a little bit more. That's just my personal opinion on like scoring wise. Like Denver doesn't need more. Like Jalen Pickett's kind of a traditional facilitation point guard. If you're going to add another guy on a two-way contract, I don't think you want to replicate that skill set. I think you'd rather have somebody that could be a different skill set that you can throw out there. Tyrell Harrison was the big center that started at the beginning of Summer League, played less and less as things went. Thought he looked a little bit more shaky, especially in that third Summer League game. I want to say that he had 7 turnovers. Not great, not awesome. He did handle things pretty well at the beginning, but thought he still looked shaky by the end. Donovan Williams, great hustler, some good tendencies at forward. Probably not an NBA guy, but I enjoyed watching him play. Thought he moved pretty well for an NBA or for somebody trying to be in the NBA. See what it looks like. Showed a little bit of scoring, a little bit of shooting here. So we'll see what it looks like. And then the last name, KAE, the backup center that played for Denver in this game today, got his first major opportunity and made the best of it. Super athletic big man going above the rim, catching some lobs, doing some rim protection. Looked pretty good from an athletic standpoint. I'm not sure if he's a guy that they're actually looking at, but KAE, let me do my best pronunciation here. Kaudarichi Akabundo Ehiogu. KO is the the way that the ESPN pronouncers were pronouncing his first name, or at the beginning of his first name. So we'll see what it looks like and whether he could be out there, but was impressed. He was killing the Lakers. Like he and Curtis Jones were dominating them. So really nice to see that. That is always a thing that you would definitely hope for. So overall Summer League 2-3, Denver did okay. Started off slow. I think it was pretty much identical to last year, where it looked pretty weak at the beginning, and then Denver got a little bit more comfortable throughout. They played some worse teams as they went, and as it turns out, when you play good teams at the beginning, that could be tough. So is what it is, but Denver looked good against the Clippers and the Lakers. That's it's just the playoffs all over again, people. So it happens. Just saying. That's something the Nuggets fans could get used to. That's all I got. Everybody, that is going to do it for this episode of Locked On Nuggets. I am over my tally already. Sorry about that, Nick Angstad. My bad, man. Doing my best, but is what it is. I hope everybody's having a great Friday night. Thank you for tuning into the show, hanging out with me on this particular episode. Really good stuff from Cam Johnson earlier today, from John Wallace, Ben Tenzer earlier today, and glad the Nuggets finished it off with a win. Have a great weekend. I should be back with you with Matt Moore on Sunday night. We'll see if we kind of get back onto a normal schedule, but if not, you'll hear from us later. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On Nuggets.